Hello again, Thor. She is rocking 37-inch tires and a very nice suspension setup with coilover shocks and relocated towers.
Yeah.
Seems to have 1-ton steering as well.
Like we have the same diff guard on.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
She slips up a bit here, but after locking the front and rear, she crawls right up. Nice work, Thor.
Passenger! Yeah, you got it.
This driver has been around the block before. He's a point-and-shoot kind of off-roader, but it gets him into a bit of trouble here. As we saw before, once you slide off to that side, you're pretty much going to have to winch out of it.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. You know what? That's the first time I've ever used my winch on myself. I've never used a winch on myself. The time I used it, I winched somebody off of this rock right here, backwards. Yep.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good.
Oh no, that is not a good sound to hear after bouncing. He snapped a rear shaft at the splines, twisted right off, and since the axle has C-clips, the shaft started to walk out. At the top of the hill, he pulled the shaft out and left the Jeep overnight. Continuing on the trail from here would be pretty difficult without four-wheel drive. He takes a good line, but his wheelbase had him in a weird spot.
okay?
Alright, just taking a break.
Okay, now he's having another go at it. He only has 31-inch tires, so driver skill is very important here.
So close. We probably ought, if we have some more rocks for him down there, that would actually help. You got it, now, that's right. You got it. You got it, up to the bush and turn left. Okay, keep going up, don't drop.
This JK is on 35s as well, but he gets hung up a bit on that large rock in the center. Oh, so close with that one. He's in a tricky spot here because of the drop-offs on both sides. All four are locked up here, but it's just not enough.
You don't want to back too much to your passenger side. You're about.
Here's a rear and front tire on opposite sides trying to climb, so it's tricky when you can't back up and take another line that's more crawlable. I'm not sure what happened right there. Maybe his four-wheel drive is having some issues. We will be back to this in a bit. Okay, so the TJ driver took apart his diff and pulled out the axle shaft. He's going to ride in another Jeep and return with another axle shaft. The Comanche just busted a fuel tank strap. Quick trail repair and he is on his way. And what do you know, my orange winch line weight thing isn't useless after all. Look at it over there doing work, keeping us all safe from that wire rope. Oh yeah, there we go. Moving forward now. Sometimes a winch is so crucial, but you never know until you need it. This TJ is on 35s. He starts with a good line, but just goes a bit too far to his left, and that tall rock won't let him up. You can see the strain on his steering components. Good thing it's a Rubicon. He just needs a quick winch to get him pointed in the right direction, and then he walks right up it. And look at that. It's like it wasn't even there. He put the winch line back in, but still struggles a bit to make the turn. It is seriously steep. It's like we saved the best for last. This Jeep took his own line and made it look easy. It goes right up and over where I wouldn't dare try unless it was the only option between me and the way out. Very nice driving here. Notice the numbers on the fender there. 5.7, as in the Hemi engine. That's right, this guy even swapped the engine in this. Now that is a lot of work, and it sounds great. Because of the amount of time spent here, we did not get much video until we reached the abandoned buildings at the Calamity Camp. And here we are, Calamity Camp. It's a short walk down to the actual location. Butch is the one holding the piece of glass and explaining how and why old glass looks the way it does. The building behind us is one of the living quarters. Some of the buildings have modern additions to help maintain the structure. I am sure the winters up here are brutal. Can you imagine having everything you own in a tiny little shack in a shanty town at over 10,000 feet in the mountains with just a few other miners around? There must have been some lonely, cold nights, but back then work was hard to find and mining was better than nothing. You can see these two buildings have modern roof materials to help with the weather wear. This one here was the cookhouse. Some of the living quarters had stoves, so I'm sure this served as a meeting place as well as a food service. Here we are walking down the main strip of path in the camp. As we hang a right, we will see inside of the cookhouse. Take a look at how thick the walls are. The rocks that make up these buildings were collected and stacked by hand. There were no tractors up here when they first started. It was difficult to even get a horse up here in the early 1900s when the road was first formed. On the other side of the ravine is the pump/generator house. There is still an old diesel engine over there that was used to generate electricity for the camp. You can see me measuring the wall's thickness here. It is very impressive and was crucial to staying warm in the wintertime. I also point out the old and very dangerous knob and tube wiring points above the door. The wires were often bare metal pretty much everywhere, so if you ever touched one, you were in for a shock. This building was someone's living quarters. They would go mine radioactive ore all day in what I'm sure were less than comfortable working conditions, only to come home to a tiny little shack on the top of a mountain. They would do everything in this tiny room. It was their bedroom and kitchen, and of course, no toilet because you had to walk to the outhouse for that. It's about 100 yards from the building where we were just in to the outhouse. That's quite a jog in an emergency. Just a hole in a board with a hole underneath. This sure makes me thankful for modern indoor plumbing. Here you can see more of the abandoned buildings. The two up on the cliff are the pump and generator houses. You can see some of the power lines that would have went up to the main mine. I believe that the lowest building has something to do with loading the ore onto wagons or trucks in later years. These rocks are the remnants of a building that has not made it. I'm sure harsh winters and hot summers really take a toll on these buildings, especially when there are no trees around to protect it. This partially buried building was a cold storage cellar. There were no refrigerators back then, so this is as good as it got for preserving food. This is another living quarters that is in poor condition. There are several around here that look just like this. There were lots of interesting old appliances and other household items strewn about the entire camp. They sure don't make stoves like they used to. There are a few more buildings over there as well as a pile of tailings. Tailings is the useless rock that they still have to mine to get to the good ore. You often see a huge pile of rocks that don't belong near old mines because of this. We wanted to explore more, but it was getting late and we had already been out for almost 12 hours, so we were going to head back to town. It was still so hot and I was starving, so we hustled out of here. I'm sure we'll be back soon enough to do more exploring. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe.